come to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Killeen.
Here.
Commissioner Kniezek.
Here.
Commissioner Clark-Holman.
Here.
Commissioner Dobb.
Here.
Chair Basham.
Here.
You have
Next
a quorum
item.
present.
Thank you.
D, approval of the September 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll
Second.
support.
Been
Dobb.
moved. Yep, it's been moved. I recognize the voice. Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, Madam Clerk.
C, old business. There is none.
There is none. And next item.
Item 2, under new business, communication from Wayne County Legislative Auditor General forwarding a copy of the Office of the Wayne County Treasurer review of the 2018 Stadium Excise Tax Independent Agreed Upon Procedures Report.
I'd like to welcome our Auditor General, her staff, and her guest. And Ms. Cora, please proceed.
Marcy Coro, Auditor General. I was trying to see if anybody from the Treasurer's Office was on. So we're going to take item number 2 first, but I'm not seeing anybody. Is anybody there?
Maybe we could have staff try to reach him and we could go back to item 1.
We'll go back to item number 1, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. If Sherelle can share the screen with me, I will.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet? Okay, let me try this again. Oh, I see what I can do. Now?
Not
It's
yet.
coming. Yep, we got it.
Okay,
Absolutely.
But also, could you, Ms. Cora, have somebody try to contact the Treasurer's Office while we're doing item number 1?
Okay. Will, would you be able to, or Will's got to do this. Mike, if you could contact the Treasurer's Office and Will's got this engagement. Send an email to him. Okay, what you have before you now is, this is a corrective action plan for the adult residential known as the RAP program. This is a performance audit that we did last year. And I'm going to turn this over to Will Hamner and his team, and they'll go through the recommendations that were addressed.
Okay. Welcome, Will.
And Will, if you could have your guests introduce themselves also.
He's unmuted.
Can you unmute, Will? You got to unmute, Will.
Ebony, I'm sorry. Ebony, are you here?
Yes, she's there.
Okay, Ebony, if you want to introduce yourself and your staff.
Good morning, Ebony McCann. I am the Wayne County Adult Community Corrections Administrator, and it does not appear, unless they are on cellular devices, that any of my staff are present.
Okay, thank you. As Marcy indicated, if I may through the chair, well, we obtained and assessed the corrective action plan for the audit performed on the RAP program, or the Wayne County Residential Alternative to Prison Program, which is within the Department of Health, Human and Veteran Communities Corrections Division. The original audit contained 15 recommendations. From the 15 recommendations, we determined 5 of the recommendations within this report are no longer applicable due to the state of Michigan taking over some of the program services. 4 of the recommendations were deemed implemented by management, and 6 of the recommendations are currently in process. As a background note, during our original audit, there were 2 vendors in place. Subsequent to our audit, both contractors or vendors have contracts were terminated. As I indicated, the state took over one part of the program services, and the division has executed another contract with a separate vendor. to perform the other set of services. So what you'll see is some of the recommendations that we have in the report, while they were geared towards the prior contractor, they will now be geared towards or recommended towards the new vendor that'll be providing the services. With that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a quick question?
Sure, Commissioner Dobb.
Thank you. What was the reason for the state taking over some of those program services?
Well,
I don't know if this is a question for Will or for Ebony.
Ebony, are you able to address that?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Commissioner Dobb, through the chair. The state took over the contract that was previously handled by Kalamazoo Probation Enhancement Program in an attempt to save cost. We did not receive funding in our fiscal year 2020 application to provide those services. And so in the interim, MDOC staff began providing the MRT services for the prisoners housed in the Detroit Reentry Center.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, John, if you would like to proceed with the status recommendation.
Okay, sure. John Kellett, Supervisory Auditor. I'll start going over the in-process recommendations here on page 6 of the report. Here under number 4B, we had recommended management ensure a periodic review is conducted over the contract period for program facilitators to verify that the instructor credentials are current and maintained. Management had agreed with this recommendation, and based on our review, our assessment, management provided communications stating that there were 2 instructors for the RAP program, one a primary instructor and then a secondary instructor in case of absence of the primary. They had provided us a copy of the credential of the primary instructor that was obtained, and this was obtained by them in May of 2019. However, they also indicated that a secondary instructor did not possess the credential, but stated that they had watched the necessary training videos. We believe management may need to review on an annual basis whether the primary instructor has the necessary credentials. So therefore, if the planned action is implemented as described, this would appear to sufficiently address the recommendation. However, we believe a follow-up review is necessary in the near future. Okay, moving on. Also, the bottom of page 6, recommendation number 5A. Here, we had recommended management develop procedures to ensure that each invoiced program session for the START and ServSafe training programs are compared to the required attendance record prior to authorization of payment to the service provider. Management agreed with this, and based on our assessment, due to the termination of the contract with the Guidance Center, as Will had mentioned, we reviewed the agreement that the county went into with the Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation, or DESC. And this was in order to ascertain their billing process. And according to management, the program manager will review the CMS report, the case management system report, and then compare that to the entries in the participant files to ensure that they match the billing invoice. Also, according to management, services that cannot be supported by documentation in the participant file will not be reimbursed. So therefore, if this action is implemented as described, this would appear to sufficiently address this recommendation. We will need to follow up on this in the near future.
Okay.
Moving on to recommendation number 5B, also on page 7 of the report. We recommended management enhance monitoring of the participants' program hours to ensure that the prerequisite number of training hours is achieved prior to the completion of the ServSafe training program. Management agreed with this, and based on our assessment, they had indicated that the staff will familiarize themselves with the National Retail Fundamental Handbook. This includes the vocational training guidelines. The handbook also lists the number of hours required to obtain the appropriate credentials. They also stated that the program manager on a monthly basis will review the case management system report and then compare that to the entries in the participant file to ensure these match. And if this action is implemented, or if this action is taken as described, this would implement this recommendation. We'll need to follow up on this one also.
So do we know how many hours we're talking? John?
I believe the total number of hours according to the guidebook is 9.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please proceed.
Okay, moving on, page 8 of the report under number 6A. Here we had recommended management ensure that instructors maintain attendance records as outlined by the contract in order to support participants' completion of the START and ServSafe training programs. Management had agreed with this. And based on our assessment, management stated as a result of a site visit that took place in February of this year, there was a discussion with the vendor regarding what information should be maintained in the participant files in order to ensure the accuracy of attendance. They also provided us with a tracking spreadsheet that is being utilized for participants enrolled in the program, whereby attendance data is entered directly from the class sign-in sheets into the CMS system. And so therefore, if the planned action is implemented as described, this would appear to address this recommendation. And we'll need to follow up on this in the near future also.
Mr. Chair, I have a question on that one.
Commissioner Dobb?
So is the pandemic preventing site visits to verify the attendance? Or are there any other ways that you're verifying the attendance because you don't want to do in-person site visits?
Through the chair, the Michigan Department of Corrections sent out notification last week stating the closure of the Detroit Reentry Center. And so prior to the closure of the facility, civilians were not allowed inside of the building to perform the site visits. Chief Judge Kinney did administratively release the RAP participants from the Detroit Reentry Center in an attempt to mitigate the risk or their exposure to COVID-19. And so those participants have been receiving a community-based treatment via telehealth services, and in some instances where they needed to go into the facility, obviously socially distancing, utilizing Detroit Employment Solutions community-based offices, they did go into those facilities to take the test. I have maintained constant contact with the provider, Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation, and they have sent over electronic documents to support the billing accuracy. We have not had any new enrollments since March of 2020. And so for the additional services that were provided, we were able to compare and contrast the information that was received electronically and compare that to the information that's maintained in the CMS system.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Please proceed.
Okay. Continuing on to the bottom of page 8 of the report, this is recommendation number 6B. Here we have recommended program managers ensure that all records are properly documented in order to verify that submitted billings are accurate. Management agreed with this, and based on our assessment, according to management, the program manager will review the CMS system report and then compare that to the entries in the participants' files to ensure that they match the billing invoice. Also, they indicated that services that cannot be supported by documentation in the participant file will not be reimbursed. So therefore, if this planned action is implemented as described, this would appear to sufficiently address the recommendation, and we'll be following up on that as well.
Okay.
Continuing on to, now we're on page 9 under recommendation number 7A. Here we had recommended that management establish procedures to ensure that the RAP program participants receive and complete the appropriate contractual program session hours for, at that time, the food handler training certification. Management agreed with this. And based on our assessment, management provided the tracking spreadsheet, which is being utilized, and whereby data is entered directly from the sign-in sheets. And the spreadsheet also tracks absences, makeup days, and completion of 3 attendance hours. Also, the vocational instructional units are then entered into the CMS system, indicating the actual dates of attendance. And so therefore, if this planned action is implemented as described, it would appear to sufficiently address the recommendation. And we believe a follow-up review is necessary in the near future. And that concludes my presentation of the in-process recommendations. If there's, and I'll leave it open for any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Colleen.
Commissioner Colleen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My questions are a little more global in nature. What's the role of the Wayne County Community Corrections Advisory Board in this?
Can somebody respond?
Through the chair, the Wayne County Community Corrections Advisory Board is responsible for reviewing and approving the funding application prior to its submission to the Michigan Department of Corrections for funding. We meet quarterly to review the mid-year report. We review the year-end report as well as the application submission documents. And then we review for one final time to actually go over the award of funds that has been presented by the Michigan Department of Corrections Office of Community Corrections. So the partners, the stakeholders who sit on that Community Corrections Advisory Board are extremely instrumental in discussing trends, the needs of the probationers within the community. And as a result, those suggestions are implemented in the programs that we offer to Wayne County offenders.
Excellent. Are we going to share this audit with the Wayne County Community Corrections Advisory Board?
We can.
Yes.
Well, I think given their role in this, they should be seeing it.
Yep. We will get the email address to send it to from Ebony.
Okay. And also in the report, trying to follow who we're doing business with. A couple of the recommendations were no longer applicable because one of the contractors we had, we no longer have. So who are we contracting with right now to deliver these services? I heard the Michigan Corrections Board has come in now. So who are the contractors delivering these services?
Through the chair, Ebony
Sure.
McCann.
Sure.
The funds that are used to support these services, the Wayne County Community Corrections program and all of our programs are 100% grant funded. So the Michigan Department of Corrections Office of Community Corrections provides the funding to support these services. In the past, the contracts we had with the Guidance Center, which has since been terminated, as well as Kalamazoo Probation Enhancement Program, or KPEF, and that contract has been terminated as well. We entered into an agreement with the Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation, DESC, in December of 2019. We entered into a one-year agreement. That contract ended on September 30th of 2020.
Okay. Is it do the grants from the state, do they name who the contractors are going to be, or do we run an RFP process locally?
So DSC was procured through the RFP process. I am not sure regarding Kalamazoo Probation Enhancement Program or the Guidance Center. Those contracts were procured prior to my arrival.
Yeah, I'm just curious because sometimes that's exactly what the state does in some of these circumstances is here's your money and here's who you're going to deal with. So I was just curious about how much local control, as it were, we had. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All righty. Moving right along. Ms. Cora, is that?
Yes, do we have to vote on this one?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to receive and file and forward to the commission.
Is there support?
I'll support Dobb.
Been moved. I recognize the voice. It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, Madam Clerk. But before we get on to the next item, did anybody from the Treasurer's Office show up? Ms. Cora?
There's a couple phone numbers on here. I can't tell who they are. So if anyone's from the Treasurer's Office, could they unmute themselves and indicate they're there? I don't see any names I recognize. So Tim Johnson has sent a text and Mike Signalski sent two email to the Treasurer and Jean Vier, but we haven't heard back.
Well, the interesting thing about this committee, unlike other committees, when you do them in person and you have somebody from the departments show up, it helps to get better compliance. And my thoughts are that if there's nobody from the Treasurer's Office, we don't have the interaction with those folks. So
it'd be my recommendation to pass it for the day if there's nobody here.
That's my thoughts. You're a mind reader. So can I get a motion to pass item number 2 for the day?
Move approval. I move that we pass it for the day.
I didn't hear the first. I didn't hear your first comment, but you moved to pass for the day, and you got support from Commissioner Colleen. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. That item is passed for the day. Number 2. Next item, Madam Clerk.
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
There are none.
Public
Next
comment.
item. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to comment? If you could unmute everybody. Anybody from the public like to comment? Anybody from the public like to comment? Going. Okay. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Adjournment.
Can I get a motion?
Move adjournment.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.